Hay season's over, which means it's time to start washing some stuff up. First things first is the tedder. Finished up just as the rain decides to come down a little bit harder. Completely forgot to put my muck boots on, so now my legs are like soaked. And that pressure washer, that hose fitting that goes in the pressure washer doesn't seal right, so it's just spraying water everywhere. Not terribly, but it's spraying water, and it was spraying on my leg. And needless to say, I'm soaked because it's also raining. And I only brought a pair of shorts to change into. What a gorgeous fall evening. I love this time of year so much. However, today I don't love as much because it's been kind of a sucky day. Got a bunch of rain last night, so we weren't in the field today, which was nice. It's nice to have a rain day every now and again. But I was coming down here to the farm today, and I was going to do some hay deliveries, and I loaded up the Dodge, like I always do. Had a 64 bale load on there. Had it all loaded up, texted the guy that I was on my way, ran down to the house real quick to grab a drink, and as I'm coming out the driveway, you could see I didn't make it very far. Started driving, and it just sputtered out on me, and now I have a crank no start. So if anybody's smart with Dodges, try to let me know. Long story short, truck is broken down right there in the lane and I cannot move it. But I got to shout out my customers. Got some awesome people that buy hay from me. I texted the guy, I said, hey, would you be willing to just come and pick up a trailer if I load the hay on the trailer? He's like, absolutely. Gave him a little bit of a discount, and he's just going to come and pick this load up and take care of it himself. Pays to have good relationships with your customers. Don't treat them like dirt. Treat them as the best you can, because in a situation where I couldn't bring him hay, which he really needed hay this week, we found a solution. So kind of a bittersweet end to a kind of bad day. Anyway, it's October 6th. Here's kind of a hay update. Still got a lot of big bales. Still got some of this junky stuff. First cut grass hay is, honestly, it's 3 bale layer high. Not very much hay left back in there. Got a lot of this second cutting. Haven't listed any of that for sale yet. Trying to hold it. Got some third cutting alfalfa here. Haven't even touched that yet. Trying not to move that. There's some first cutting grass in the back there. There are a lot of good big bales behind the bad ones. Got some good big bales here. Got some more good big bales here. We got some more crappy big bales there. And we got some of the high dollar mix hay over here. Look at the color difference. You can see where I pulled from today. Anyway, still a lot of hay in the barn. Not as much as I would have liked to have going into winter, but trying to do a little bit better at holding some of the bales this year instead of trying to move them all in the fall like I did last year. Well, figured I'd bring you guys along in the tractor, except we're not in the tractor because we had an oopsie. What was going to be a beautiful night plant cover crop turned into this. So, yeah, we're done. This thingy is bolted onto there with those big U-bolt clamp type deal thingies. And all 4 of those top bolts snapped off at the threads. And yeah, just went dragging along. Fortunately, our hoses are fine. They are stretched out, but they're fine. Just a little bit of electrical connection that came apart. So hopefully we can take a loader, lift this thing back into place, put the nuts, new bolts and some nuts back on there, rewire it, and we'll be good to go. Anyway, that's been my day. And it is chilly right now, and I could tell you deer are moving, and I wish I was hunting. But there's plenty of time in the future to hunt. We got a rainy day here, and we got a problem with the AGCO. We're having problems with the bucket drifting down, and it's like really bad now. So I'm gonna take it down to the shop, and we're gonna pull out a check valve, the check valve back in there in the hydraulic system, and we're gonna pull that out and just see if it's maybe got some dirt in it. Sometimes that can be a problem. Otherwise, I think the check valve is bad. So we're gonna try to diagnose it and see what we can do. I'll try to show you here. I lift the bucket up, and when I let go of the hydraulics, they're slowly drifting down. ever so slowly. But when I got a big bale on here and I'm trying to move them around, it drifts a lot faster, obviously, when there's 600, 700, 800 pounds on the end of that. So we'll see what we can do. So this check valve is back here. I believe it is this right here. So we're going to pull this out and just see if there's any gunk in it. First, we need to pull this plate off. And of course, with this rain and my barn being full, I couldn't park this thing inside. So I have to work on it while it's wet. And I just honestly hate working on stuff when it's wet. Now to get the check valve out, you're going to use a 27 millimeter wrench. And I'm going to need 2 hands for that. First thing I want to do though, I just want to make sure all the hydraulic pressure is off the everything. I don't know if that's going to make a difference or not, but I feel like that would be a safety measure. So I actually almost rounded that thing off there. So I'm going to pull this bolt out so that I can get my wrench nice and flat against that, because I do not want to round those edges off, because that will probably render this project failed. A 13 millimeter socket fits on that. There's the top of the valve. Everything looks good there. Here's the valve itself, and nothing looks blocked on it. So I'm no expert on these tractors and this sort of thing. This is where the check valve goes, and I'll stick it in here, and I don't know, you can maybe tell me what's going on with it, but we push it down in, and it kind of seems like it's sticking. Push it in, and I don't know if it's supposed to kind of stick like that or what. So I don't know if maybe that's the problem. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come over here, we're gonna put everything back together back there, and then we're gonna swap these couplers around. So two of them supply oil to the loader lift, and 2 of them supply oil to the bucket. So we're gonna put everything back together, swap the lines, and then actually see if the bucket is still drooping or if the drooping then switches to the loader. If the drooping switches, then we know that it's something in our valve. And if the drooping stays the same, then we know that it's in our bucket cylinders. But first I gotta identify what lines are what. So the 2 hard lines on top here, these 2 are the bucket, and they run under here, and they are these 2 here, and these 2 run to the front. So these are our bucket cylinders, these are the loader ones. And I should also mention that there are no visible leaks on the curl cylinders, the bucket cylinders, and they've both been repacked and resealed, both of them, within the last 2 years. All right, all of our lines are switched around. That is a pain in my butt. And now we should be able to fire it up, and the lever will do the opposite function that it typically does, but we should find out pretty quickly whether we have a valve problem or a cylinder issue. Take 2. I had some of the lines backward. Now they should be right. Okay, we're working. And the bucket is still drifting down. So if we swap the lines around and the bucket's still doing the same thing, that should mean that it is the lift cylinders, right? Well, it sure feels good to get some of that hay out of here. Definitely emptied the barn out a little bit. He took 22 bales on that load, and then he had gotten 2 bales last week that I actually gave him for free. I was like, hey, come and try these out. If you want them, I'll give you a deal on them. And so it worked out. Gave him a deal on that stuff, and he actually wanted it. So 75 bucks a ton was our deal. And yeah, he's doing me more of a favor than anything. Just I'm able to get rid of that stuff for something rather than me sitting on junk that really isn't going to do me much good. So I was going to feed it to the steers. I just for grass-fed steers, you know, we're not feeding them anything else. No feed, no corn. For grass-fed steers, you know, I kind of want something that they're actually going to eat more of, because I don't want, you know, they're getting all their nutrition from that, and we want them to put on pounds. So I don't want to feed them like complete junk, even though that was the plan. I feel a little bit better now selling that stuff than feeding that straight to my steers. So these bales here, there's 17 of them in kind of a section here. There's 2 more junk ones up there, but these bales here were the actual grassy bales from that farm, the existing meadows that were there. So there is good grass, and you can see there is good grass in here. Now these were baled at a higher moisture as well, and as high, they were like 20%. They were bone dry, but then we ended up getting that stupid rain shower when I was having issues with the fuel on the AGCO and everything. And I didn't tet it out again. And so, yeah, they just held on to a little bit more moisture than I would have liked. So they are cattle quality, because they did not cure out 100% either, or they just had too much moisture. So there might be some mold and must in them as well, but not nearly as bad as those up there. I was planning on selling those and feeding all the junk ones, but now that I sold the junk ones, I'm going to feed those better grass bales. Because I might only get 50 bucks a bale for those anyway, and I need some better feed for my steers. So we're gonna feed those grass bales. At least that's kind of what I'm thinking in my head. Much better grass, even though it might be a little bit musty and moldy in spots. If it's better grass, they will eat it a lot better than that other stuff. And when we get to those pretty cold months in December, January, February, and even in March, they will eat that stuff no problem. As for the AGCO here, it ran fine. We were able to get all the bales moved around fine. And I believe I do know the issue. Like I was saying yesterday, I'm pretty sure some seals are bad in here, and they're just not holding pressure. So at some point, we're going to have to pull these cylinders off and take them to the hydraulic shop and have them repacked. Not ideal. I didn't really want to have to do that, because it's kind of a pain moving those cylinders, putting them on and off. And I feel like I'm always repacking those cylinders. But given that we really worked that loader a lot this year, especially in the last few weeks with all those junk bales, I think it just wore it out too fast and blew the seals.